Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Damien from Space Engineers Hints, Tips and Tricks, and welcome to the second episode. So in today's episode what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at components. So if I just bring up the UI, as you can see there's an awful lot of components that are available within the vanilla game. Now I'm not going to be going through everything. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to be looking at some of the most commonly used parts when ship designing. So let's move into the various ones and let's have a look at them. So here we have the drill, the grinder and the welder. Now these parts again are the most commonly used for most designs. As you can see there's a various big brother size over there on the large ship size. So on the welder side of things, what I've just recently discovered, and I'd like to thank Video Sage for this, is that you do not need to have all your welders conveyed up. As long as only one is conveyed up, which allows you to lay down the construction component, then the others will weld it in place. And this is going to make for some very interesting designs, I'm sure. Something which I'm going to go away and try myself later on. So let's move on to the cargo containers. So as you can see, we've got the small, medium and large on the small ship size and the small and large on the large ship size. Now one thing that I've learned, and I put this into my designs, is I don't use the straight sections for the conveyor network. I use the small cargo containers. Now the reason for that is it works just like a small conveyor tube, but it provides a small amount of carrying capacity. So if you want to improve or increase the carrying capacity of your design without destroying the look of the craft, then use the small cargo container. It's brilliant, it works. So there you are, and let's move on to the next one. Okay, and here we have the various cockpit controls. So you've got the fighter cockpit for the small ships, the universal cockpit for both the small and the large, and the passenger seat just there for the large ship designs. Now, I'd like to thank Wasted Space for this one. When you first start off in survival, components will be in a very scarce supply. So rather than expend the resources necessary to make a cockpit, build yourself a passenger seat and a control block. That way you'll still have the full control of your ship, but it will cost you less in resources. And again, it's a wonderful thing. I now include a remote control block in all my designs for the simple reason being that it's nice to be able to control them whenever I'm not in the actual cockpit itself. So let's move on to the next part. Now, one thing that I've discovered is, besides just putting your antenna, and you've got the small antenna there, and obviously it's bigger brother over there. Now, the small antenna, especially on planets, only has a range of 5,000 meters. The larger one has a range of 50,000 meters. So, when you first start playing on planets, what you'll soon quickly discover is just how big planets really are, even though they don't seem to be that large. It's very easy to lose your equipment or very easy to lose your ships. So by putting a beacon, which are there and over there, by putting a beacon on your small ships, then you will quickly find that it's the easiest way to keep an eye on where your ships are located at any time. So it's something which I now do on all my designs. I have the beacon on and I connect it into the antenna and I call it comms. I tie in both the beacon, the laser antenna and the normal antenna excuse me, because it makes it easier to find my designs later on. So let's move on to the landing leg. Now, as those who've been playing Space Engineers for a while now will tell you, the landing legs still, even today, have a tendency to go bang. Don't ask me why, and I'm sure the developers of Keen would love to know why this keeps happening, but landing legs are still a problem. So as a result of that, one of the things I would recommend is, yes, by all means, include landing legs into your design, but don't turn them on. It's as simple as that. Yes, they work great with voxels. You can turn them on and lock into place whilst you're on a planet. But when you're connected to, or when you're landing onto surfaces like space stations or ships, don't lock them down. It's as simple as that. It's set for maybe if you're going to use the jump drives, that sort of stuff, then it's a different ball game altogether. But again, it's something we'll look into in another episode of how best to incorporate the landing legs into your designs. So let's move on to the conveyor networks. So as you can see, we've got the different types here for the small conveyor tubing, and over there are the larger brother size for the larger ships. Now, well, there are a couple of parts which are not available for the large ship designs, and that is the smaller size conveyor tubes, i.e. the 90 degree, the conveyor tube there, and the conveyor sort block there. As you can see, they are not available for the larger size. Don't ask me why. For some reason, Keen decided not to make them available. But hey, there you go. Now, when you're designing your ships, especially your mining ships, one of the big things, especially on planets, or even in space, is you're going to need a way to get rid of the excess stone. Now, what I do and what I've set up is a way of getting rid of the stone using a conveyor sorter and ejectors. Now, I'll show you in another episode how to set that up, but it helps tremendously, because the last thing you want to do is be waylaid or weighed down with a lot of stone when you're trying to get at the ore. So I'll show you how to set up a network afterwards in another episode, which will help you during the mining process. One thing I will say is, if you look here, we've got the conveyor tube. Now, on the conveyor tube, if I just bring up the UI and I grab a conveyor block, on the conveyor tube, as you can see, there is no way to connect a block on its side. Now, you can connect it on the edges, by all means, but you cannot connect a block to the side. Don't ask me why Keen have done this, I don't know, but just be aware of it when you're using the half tubes on your designs, that you cannot connect blocks to the side of it. Okay, so let's move on to the next sets. So over here we've got the cameras, we've got the control panels, and we've got sensors. Now in the tutorials and on YouTube, there is a lot of videos, especially in regard to the sensors, that will teach you how to set up using sensors to run things like opening, closing doors. I won't be going through with you, but I would recommend that you probably look at things like Last Stand Gamers and other videos on the YouTube network, which will show you how to correctly set up sensors. It's brilliant. They work great, and they've got a action sensor. If I go into it now, if we go into it and just look at you can see you can set up actions using that, and it gives you two options. So again, that's something to consider when you go into it later on. However, the control panel is a useful piece of kit, especially when you're in survival mode. If you need to be able to access your equipment or your station quickly, and you've only got construction components, set up a control panel. It's one of the best things to do, and it's a cheap way of gaining access to your equipment. The camera has a standard overlay. Now, there are mods out there which improves the overlay for you. One of them is VideoSage's camera overlay. It increases the clarity of the camera. Don't ask me why, but for some reason Keen have put a misting effect on the overlay, and I'll show you that in a later episode, what I'm talking about, and I'll show you the comparisons between the standard one in vanilla and a modded version that you can use. But let's move on for now. So one of the other things, and one of the last things I want to talk to you about in today's episode, is just a reminder about hydrogen thrusters. Now, as you can see, the ion thrusters and the atmospheric thrusters, they work off electricity, so you can virtually connect them anyway, in any which way you like, as long as they're connected to a block. However, the hydrogen thrusters, for whatever reasons, must be conveyed up. Now, I know in some people's designs, they're sat there trying to work out why it is they can't get the flame effect. Well, that's because you've got to have a hydrogen tank conveyed up to the thrusters. Now, I know it sounds like maybe teaching grandmother to suck eggs, but it's just a reminder. So there you go. That's today's episode. I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll be with you to do another episode, and we'll go into more detail in regards to other things and starting your designs. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you soon. Bye.